I'd like to welcome all of you here. I can see the future of this country. I can see many young women and young men, and I'm confident that you're going to do great things. I'm here to have a conversation with you. Conversation is about what you feel and also about what I feel. So I'm here to listen, probably a little more than to speak. I'm here to try and understand what you're going through, what your fears are, what your dreams are. I want to get a sense of that, and I want to tell you a little bit about what is going on in the country and the type of things that we should be thinking about. So we can go straight into the questions now. So I think the central point Professor made is that an education system is for our students, and an education system is run by our teachers. So if we're going to have any policy that is going to be made for our education system, it has to come from a conversation with students, it has to come from a conversation with professors. And unfortunately, this was not done. So if you don't do that, you will not get the right product. It is impossible for someone outside the education system to tell our teachers, our students, what is best for them. It cannot be done. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that they are centralizing too much power into the central government, into one institution. This is going to damage our education system. The positive side of it is that it is reasonably flexible on a number of counts. But it is a weapon to communalize. It is a weapon to push a particular ideology into the Indian system. And that is why I do not like it. See, when they say Tamil Nadu is on the way to success, you have to ask one question. Who in Tamil Nadu is being successful? See, that's the thing they never say. They don't say, for example, that these two people or these three people are being successful. They assume that everybody is being successful, but it's not the case. I don't think that you necessarily want to remove religion from the discourse. What you do want is all religions to be able to be part of the discourse. And you want a fair playing field.
Yes.
Right? I don't think if somebody has a religious idea, if somebody believes in a religious idea, I don't think you should say to him, listen, you cannot speak about that. As long as all ideas are competing properly, without hatred, without anger, I don't see a problem with a conversation taking place. Where I see a problem is where you tell somebody you cannot open your mouth because you're from a certain religion, or you cannot express your idea because you're from a certain religion. That's where I see the problem. But a healthy democracy should be confident enough to speak about anything.
Yes.
You know, it should not be that we don't have the courage to speak any truth. So that is my problem. My problem is that the government of India doesn't want to speak, allow people to speak. Let me give you an example. The government of India says that they represent Hinduism. A lot of the ideas that they espouse have nothing to do with Hinduism. Nowhere in Hinduism does it say insult people, kill people, beat people. There is nowhere in Hinduism where it is said that you have to do this. But they do it. So, if you want to have a discussion on the true principles of a religion, they are very simple. All of them say the same thing. Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Sikhism, they say the same thing. Treat the other person with respect. Treat the other person with love. Treat the other person with affection. I have never seen a religion that says, hate the other person, kill the other person. So that is the basic structure. Look, at the end, Professor said the right thing. The whole game is to steal. That is the game that is being played. And the idea is, do whatever you have to do to take the money of the people of India. You look at the farm laws, essentially the idea is, take what belongs to the farmers, take what belongs to the laborers, take what belongs to the small business, give them to the biggest businesses in the country. So that is what the real issue is. I would like to say a couple of things about women. There is no society in the world that can be successful without respecting and empowering its own women. Do you agree with that?
Yes,
That-
I agree.
Women have to be given correct respect in the society for a society to be successful. And I think there is a lot that we have to do in India to give our women the space that they deserve and the space that they require to grow. I believe that education should be universal. I do not believe that education should be only for financially strong people. So I believe the more scholarships we give to poorer people, the more exposure we give to poorer people, the better it is. And I'm confident that when we come to power after the election in the Secular Alliance, we are going to push the scholarships, we are going to push access of education to women and to poorer people.
Thank you, sir.
And I stand for that wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Even in America, a capitalist country, education is in the state list. We want that education to be brought back to the state list. Thank you.
Will it be revoked?
Well, I don't know, we'll look into it. But I think, you see, if you are trying to make education an ideological weapon, like the RSS and the BJP is doing, then you will behave completely differently. If you are trying to make education a weapon of empowerment, then you will behave differently. We believe that education is a weapon of empowerment for our people. And I think the idea of centralizing everything, whether in the state or in Delhi, is a bad idea. And however we do it, I think decentralization of education and making education accessible to all corners of our country is something important and fundamental. So I think, as I said earlier, decentralization. India is a union of states. Each state has a slightly different vision on how it wants to educate its youngsters. And India needs to be flexible for that. Modern technology needs to be incorporated into the education system, but it is my belief that the teacher has to be a central pillar of the education system. I do not believe that you can simply give a child a computer without a teacher and expect him to learn. I don't believe it. And I will tell you why. Because there are three components to education. The first component is information. Information you can get from the computer. Information you can get from Google. The second component is knowledge. Knowledge requires a teacher. Knowledge requires the teacher to give you a broader understanding of the world. And the final goal of education is wisdom. And wisdom cannot be given to a human being by a computer. It can only be given to a human being by another human being. So I believe that the goal of education is not just collecting of information. It is taking that information and distilling it into knowledge and then into wisdom. I feel that our students have to be global students, but also local students. So they must not be carried away by purely global ideas, and they must not be attached only to local ideas. So the student needs to be able to go from local to global and back. So there is a requirement for us to be open to the rest of the world. There is a requirement of openness, but there is also a requirement for us never to forget where we come from, who we are, what our history is, what our tradition is. So it is a balance. It is a balance between technology and the teacher. It is a balance between outside India and inside India. It is a balance between India and Tamil Nadu. So I don't believe in forcing anybody, any idea down someone's throat. I believe that youngsters and teachers are wise and they should be allowed to give free ideas to the children they teach. And I think that you have a central role in building the nation. I am not happy with, for example, the amount of money our teachers are paid for the hard work they do. I think they're paid too little in this country. I'm not happy that our teachers are not given. I hear every day, I ask somebody, what do you want to become? He says, I want to be an engineer or I want to be a doctor. He should also say, I want to be a teacher. It should be a profession that gives you remuneration. It should be a profession that people admire, want to be part of. So that would be broadly our vision for education. First of all, freedom to the teacher. Freedom to the teacher to be flexible. Freedom to the teacher to express what they want to teach. Flexibility. I think in each one of you, there is creativity. All teachers, all good teachers are creative people. But I think you do not have the flexibility to utilize that creativity. So I think the first thing is to allow some freedom to our teachers. Second thing is allow some freedom to the student. If the student is asking a question, make him feel comfortable. Whenever I meet students, I say to them, there is nothing known as a stupid question. All questions are good because they further knowledge. So giving the student also that confidence that he can ask a question, that he or she does not have to conform to some idea, that they can challenge ideas. So I think that would go a long way. Also, the government itself has to be confident enough to allow different ideas to propagate. A government that is trying to crush ideas, that is frightening people, that is locking up people, that will never create a creative country. So that would be my answer. If I didn't think that, I wouldn't come here and speak to you. The fact that I'm sitting here and I'm coming and speaking to you means that it can be done. And the second signal that I am giving is that not only can it be done, but it can be done by you and us together. So I am trying to put across to you that you are powerful in this equation, that you are valuable in this equation. Now, of course, we have to dream big. Dreams have to be big, right? Maybe everything in that dream will not be a reality, but 60, 70%, 80% will be a reality. So I think it is our duty to think big. And yes, we are fighting a formidable enemy. We are fighting an enemy that is dominating the money in this country. We are fighting an enemy that is crushing its opponents, but we have done this before. And we have defeated a much bigger enemy than this new enemy that has come. If you recall, 70 years ago, this country was ruled by the British, much more powerful than Narendra Modi will ever be. Right? Who is Narendra Modi in comparison to the British Empire? Nobody. And the people of this country sent the British Empire back. Same way, Same way, we will send Narendra Modi back to Nagpur. And by the way, I want to make one more point. We will do it without any hatred, without any anger, without any violence. They can do whatever violence they want on us. They can abuse us, they can kick us, they can spit on our face. It does not matter. We will not abuse them, we will not kick them, we will not spit back. Thank you. I personally do not believe that education is a financial commodity. I just do not believe it. I do not believe that you should be able to buy an education. I believe that education should be available to everybody, rich, poor, man, woman, and it is the duty of a nation to give education and healthcare to its people. What is happening today is everything in this country is being seen as a financial commodity. Agriculture is being seen as a financial commodity. Education is being seen as a financial commodity. Healthcare is being seen as a financial commodity. Basically, if you have money, you can get anything you want. If you don't have money, you can get nothing. This is where India is heading, and I am fundamentally against this. There is a role, there is a place for business, absolutely, but business cannot dominate education, business cannot dominate healthcare, because then poor people will not have access to it. So
Thank
I'm
you.
in agreement with your
Thank you, Mr.
sense.
Thank you. Education has to be completely free. It's a fundamental right. That's a great.
Well, no, I wouldn't say it has to be completely free. Yes, if private players want to participate in education and they want to charge people for an education, they are welcome to do it. But there should be a large part of the education system that should be free, that should be easily accessible, and should be high quality. Remember one thing, which nobody says. The IIT is not a private institution. The best institution in the country is a government institution. No institution is able to match the higher education the IIT gives you, and it's a government institution. So, access is the key. If certain businesses want to have their institutions which charge a lot of money, that's fine, let them do that. But make sure that the government is doing its job and giving quality education to our poor people and to everybody who wants it for free. In my view, what was the first two words you used? Access and?
Access and excellence.
In my view, access and excellence at scale are impossible to achieve with centralization and corporatization. It is not possible. You might be able to have an institution that is a very good institution, maybe in New Delhi, if you are running a centralized system. But it will be a tiny institution. If you want excellence across the country, you want access across the country, the government has to play a role. Large amount of money, public money, has to go into it, and we have to pay our teachers, we have to support our institutions financially. The budget for education has to rise significantly. We are more than happy, the government of India is more than happy to give 1,50,000 crores to 5 or 7 business people during Corona. 1,50,000 crores to 5 or 6 people. Why are they not ready to put that money into the education system for our poor people?
Yes. Thank you.
One second.
Dr. Jenix, you know, Professor.
One second.
Yeah.
You see what happened to your mic just now? You know what happened to your mic? This happens to my mic in Parliament every day.
Oh.
I open my mouth and the mic is off. So I understand exactly how you feel. thank you very much for coming here this morning. I understand that Sunday is normally your off day, so thank you for giving me 2 or 3 hours of your valuable time on your off day. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to come and talk to you. You are, as I said, one of the central pillars of our education system, and we need to empower you, strengthen you, and make you comfortable so that you can impart knowledge and wisdom to our students. You're doing a tremendous job for this country. Every single day, when you come into your classroom, you must remember that you are helping strengthen this country. So I would like to thank you very much and give you all my best wishes. Namaskar. Jai Hind.